but we're gonna make it. Okay, so we're gonna talk largely about your purpose and your vision. Okay, so really quickly, I'm gonna read this for you. So when we're talking about you as a person, we're talking about an archetype, right? So an archetype essentially is basically who you are. So an archetype is a universal pattern or model that represents a fundamental human experience, role, or energy. Think of it as a character template that shows up across all cultures and time periods because it represents something essential about how humans operate. So essentially, in simple terms, archetypes are the classic roles people naturally fall into. So based on their personality, experiences, and how they interact with the world. So let me give you an example. The hero saves the day, right? So Lawal, you fall more into the hero. The mentor guides others. Miss Kadan, you fall more into the guide. The rebel challenges authority. Tammy, I feel like you fall between the rebel and the caregiver because you fall more into the caregiver. You nurture and protect homes and spaces. And then the goal is to move into more of the rebel. So these same patterns show up in your real life and they show up in your business. If we just can describe this about you in business, how would your friends describe you? Would your friends describe you as the hero? Would your friends describe you as the guide? Would your friends describe you as the caregiver? Maybe that's not more aligned, but we'll find something more aligned for you, Tammy. But do you get what I'm trying to say? How it shows up in business is how it shows up in your real life. Again, I'm solidifying in your mind that how you are personally is who you are in the brand. There's no separation of the two. Because a lot of people will be like, I'm gonna show up as this, but then like I'm gonna show up as like my alter ego here, and like those aren't real things, right? Especially in business. Um, so then why archetypes matter for your brand? They help you understand your natural role and energy. They give you language to describe what you do. They help you attract people who need that specific type of guidance, and they make your messaging clearer and more magnetic. So essentially, again, um, sorry, come on. Why can't I see? Okay, so essentially, for entrepreneurs specifically, your archetype is often shaped by what you've overcome or what comes naturally to you. So essentially, when I'm personally working with clients, I will naturally ask what comes naturally to you, what you're good at, and what you like to do are two different things. This is why I think this course, I'm hoping to hopefully provide this course to younger people. When you ask younger people what they want to do, the next thing you should ask them is, how did you come up with that? How did you know you wanted to be a quote unquote police officer? Is it because you saw it on TV, or you actually know what it means to be a police officer and you care about protecting and you care about crime and you care about problem solving and things of that nature? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So even when you look at your younger siblings or nieces or nephews or children, really ask them, does problem solving come naturally to you, or do you just like problem solving? There's a difference. So it talks about and then what did you overcome? How did that come into practice? For some people, they may say, problem solving comes naturally to me because I'm able to make specific deductions really quickly. And I'm able to, I have really good pattern recognition. I am able to see the problem for what it is, dissect it from all sides and all corners, and then I'm able to use my creativity to provide a solid solution. As young people, in your youth or in your adulthood, you will find yourself naturally doing those things, or you may have been forced to do that thing and succeeded. Therefore, it is something you will begin to like to do. Yeah.
So are you saying we should focus on what we like to do or what we're naturally good at?
I think that you should focus on both. I think that what you like to do, as much as it's separate from what you're good at, what you're naturally good at, separate from what you like to do, there is intersection. It's not black or white. However, what you're naturally good at gives you options. What you like to do is something you decided to zone in on. You may be good at project management, at team building, and all these other very good things because of how detail orientated you are, but you decided to put that into design. You also decided to put it into fashion, which means that you're good at those things, but you're naturally good as a project coordinator. Yeah. Brilliant. Great question. Great question. A wounded healer, for example, didn't choose that role. They become it through experience. And essentially, the truth teller can't help but call out what others won't say. So Rihanna is something that I would say is a truth teller, for example. The key insight is that you're not choosing an archetype to play because you don't play an archetype. You are an archetype. You don't pretend to be a person, right? If you pretend to be a certain type of person, you're masking and then you lose the audience that you really want, right? So essentially, hi everybody online. Hi everyone. So essentially, you don't want to wear a mask. I'm gonna take a minute to really emphasize not wearing a mask. What I mean by not wearing a mask essentially is you can make up a brand. You can make up a brand. To me, it's lying. It's and not lying that it hurts me, but it hurts the person doing the lying, right? Because you are not attracting the audience that actually is going to feel you. You're attracting an audience that likes what you're signaling. Does that make sense? Like, I like, oh, like this person is very much like this, very much like that, only to find out in the background that they're not really like that. And the moment that your audience finds that out is when your reputation starts to go down the drain. And one of the hardest things to get back is a reputation. And that's why you find a lot of people that once their reputation is stained, it goes down the drain and that's it, right? For some people, there's no amount of rebranding we're going to do. People are just not feeling it because they hate being lied to. They hate being deceived, right? The moment people find that out, they will, and especially this generation, they will cancel, they will block, they will abandon. Especially in this generation, it's really, yeah, and then once they turn you into a hashtag, it's over. Like you've been indexed as a liar. So it's something that you don't want to do. I do strongly recommend not wearing a mask. And this is why I'm very happy that you've all come to this class today and all the capacity that you've been able to come, because we can work on the real person. You don't need to wear a mask. People are going to accept you for your pattern recognition, your detail orientation, the ability that you're starting small and you're about to take it all the way, right? People are going to accept the fact that right now, like I may seem introverted, but I'm really coming out. And that means when I get on the stage and I hold a microphone, I'm saying what I have to say. It's either you come or you don't. I'm not even giving people options. That's power. Power doesn't give people options, right? I'm coming to the point where I'm building a community of immigrants and women who have gone through relationship issues and women who have had to be brave. And I'm creating a space of X, Y, and Z, whether it's been X, Y, or Z, whether it's been done or it hasn't been done, I am Kiden and it's happening. You know what I mean? With my full chest. I may have started my community with just 2 people. I'm proud of my 2 people. That's okay for me. 2 turns into 10. 10 turns into 10,000. Nobody can stop that. But the point of the matter is that if you start with the mask, you can start at 10,000, but 10,000 will bring you to 0 once people know that you're wearing a mask. So it's all about authenticity.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you don't choose an archetype, but we all have an archetype. I have a way that I am. I'm very I am very nurturing, but you'll find that I'm very like no fluff, but I'm also very, very playful. That's literally who I am. That's how I've decided to work on my healing. You can tell that about me because of the way that I hate, but yeah, you get it. So you're not choosing an archetype to play. You're recognizing the one you already are. And it's about identifying your natural patterns so you can own it fully in your brand. So your archetype becomes the foundation of how you show up, what you're known for, and who you attract. Again, your archetype becomes the foundation of how you show up, what you're known for, and who you attract. Okay. So let's go through some archetypes and just note down what feels natural to you. So we have the wounded healer, overcame addiction, trauma, business failure, a health crisis, helps others navigate what you survived. Ms. Kaden, this sounds a lot like you. And the brand voice is I've been where you are, hence why you developed the book. Amazing. The bridge builder connects different worlds, industries, and perspectives, translates complex concepts for your audience. Brand voice, let me show you how these connect. So I'm more of the bridge builder. The truth teller says what everyone thinks but won't voice, challenges industry myths and false beliefs. So their brand voice is someone needs to say this, which is more like a Rihanna. The permission giver models what's possible when you break the rules, shows others they can succeed their way. Their brand voice is you are allowed to. All right. The system disruptor questions established ways of doing things, creates new approaches to old patterns. Their brand voice, there's a better way. Loala, see that there. And you can have more than one part of the archetype. The translator takes complex, intimidating concepts and makes them accessible, bridges the gap between experts and everyday people. So brand voice would be let me break this down for you. So I'm more of the bridge connector and I'm more of the translator. Yes. The liberator frees people from limiting beliefs, systems, or situations, shows others how to escape what's keeping them trapped. So Loa, that's me and you. The catalyst ignites transformation in others through their presence, work, accelerates growth through that was already waiting to happen. Let's light this up. Tammy, that's more of you. It's giving the catalyst. I love that. Okay, let's run through. Okay, just one more. Okay. The sanctuary builder creates safe spaces for vulnerable work or authentic expression, offers refuge from harsh industry practices. Their brand voice would be you're safe here to be yourself. The pattern breaker helps people break generational behavioral or business patterns, specializes in ending destructive cycles. The cycle ends with you. The amplifier takes what's already good and makes it bigger and louder, helps others own their power and take up space. Turn up your volume.
That's true.
Exactly. Come on. The reclaimer helps people reclaim their power, voice, time, or identity, restores what was lost or taken. Take back what's yours. Exactly. Come on. Exactly. So, do we see how the archetype is so important? So, if I were to take, for example, let's just take the reclaimer, right? There's so many ways to use your brand voice in your marketing strategy. So, when you're coming up with your marketing strategy and somebody says something like, so, like, what kind of content do you want to do, or what kind of things to attract your audience do you want to do? You will say, I want to do a series. Let's even just say, let's even take it for like the minimal. I want a series that talks about take back what's yours. This is where you can interview other women. This is where you can interview yourself. This is where you can find all the problems that people are going through where they don't feel like they have their power, and you can address how they can take their power. Do you see how much content that we've just been able to come out just by knowing your brand voice? Yeah. Exactly. Brilliant. Amazing. Brilliant. The first one you started with. The first archetype? The wounded healer. Exactly. Yes. So if we look at the wounded healer, I've been where you are, right? Yeah, that's what. Yes, I've been where you are. So I have been where you are is great for somebody who may want to turn it into consultation. Oh, yeah. Right? So in addition to book sales, I would even say, okay, even a part of your business strategy, you should also be a consultant where people can pay you by the hour, whether you do it from a place of charity, whether you do it from a place of business. where you can say, I'll talk to you for an hour, I'm going to give you resources, or I'm just going to hear you out. You don't have to go to school to be a therapist. Sometimes people just need somebody they can consult with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And we want to consult with people who have lived experience. So you can do that. I've been where you are. Look at all the questions about where people are and where they want to go. You can create content on just trying to bridge those two things.
Yes.
So I tell you, it's done. It's done. All right. Okay, so I have a few questions for you. So why did you start your organization or your company or your craft? And how does it connect to your personal growth or healing journey? Why interior design? Why education? Why self-help? There's another part to the question. And how does it connect to your personal growth or your healing journey? But I'm more yeah, actually I like both.
For me, the two questions are connected
Mhm.
because I chose design.
Mhm.
The more I continued on my growth journey,
Mhm.
because I feel like home decor has always been like a hobby. I thought I was good at putting things together, but I never.
What you're naturally good at.
Yeah, I
Okay.
never took it seriously. I think it was also me getting to the point in my like in building myself as a person to
Mhm.
want to like take the plunge with something
Mhm.
like and say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. So I feel like that takes some courage
Mhm.
and like self-belief.
Yeah.
That comes with, you know, self-awareness and
Mhm.
like growth.
Mhm.
And I think
1,000%.
in me pursuing that journey and figuring out, okay, what does my dream life look like? Like,
Mhm.
who's my highest self? How does she show up? And to me, like, she's very well traveled, she's cultured, you know, and those are a lot of things that I do also want to incorporate in my design.
Higher self.
So I feel like, yeah, it kind of like one thing led me to the other. It felt like that was a combination, like uh the role of the designer was a combination of a lot of things that I've loved and also the kind of life that I want to live.
Mhm.
So I felt like that was more fitting than like, you know, what I see my higher self as.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. I 100% agree with you. I think something that you've naturally been good at that's coming through is that you're just a natural curator. Curators are very akin to tastemakers.
Mm,
I think an evolved version of a curator is a tastemaker. This is now somebody who's setting the trend
Yeah.
naturally, right? After all the experience of curating. And I feel like your higher self knows that. And I think that's just trying to take you there. So you're absolutely right. I feel like you are you are there's an accumulation of all the things that you're good at, and then because you decided interior design, I think if you even look at it personally, I think your inner world is really important to you. And I think until somebody gets to know you, whether you decide to share with that, when you decide to share with us, I think understanding your inner world is very akin to interior design. And you're trying to sort that out and you're trying to work that out. And I think in a healing journey, where it's not about perfection. Even in interior design, it's not about perfection. There's actually, funny enough, when it comes to design in that way, there's a I'm done now. Okay. Still with the freedom of like, if I decide to change my couch in a year, I can change my couch in a year. But all the work that I did up until buying that couch, I'm gonna enjoy it.
yeah.
But I think for an artist, I think it's not that it's ever done. I think it's like it's okay for now. Like I'm good. Like I can coast from here and enjoy the function.
Like it might not be done, but I'm satisfied.
I'm exactly
Like we've
come to
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's a real strength. And I feel like, yeah, your higher self evolves into knowing that intuitively.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Okay, okay. How about you, Luau?
Why education, you asked?
Yeah. Why did you start? Yeah, why'd you start education?
It is basically a combination of a lot of factors. So, education, I realized the importance of
Mhm.
replacing Eurocentric narratives
Mhm.
with more African-centered narratives.
Why?
Because identity is important.
Why?
Identity is what you build power on.
Why?
Identity is how you solve the problem.
For you, why?
Me personally,
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you
I don't
something.
have to solve my problem.
Wait, let me tell you something before you. No,
That's the right answer.
no. Let me share something for you so you answer the questions moving forward like this. I think because of your okay, sometimes we called you the principal here today, right? Sometimes the principal can separate themselves from the student. Like you're the student, I'm the principal, even though I've been where you are. However, you find an evolved principal when the principal says, I am an ever evolving student, right? It's not outside of you. Don't separate. So what I'm saying is that I think you tend to separate yourself from the situation. So when you answer the question, you answer it like somebody separate from the issue. So when I say why education, I mean like why education for you? Because that's why you care about education. So for example, education is very Eurocentric because I've gone through X. So center it around yourself to yourself. Go ahead, tell us.
So, I do believe personally that
Okay.
education is
Why?
not just only
Why? Take your time. Why?
because self-knowledge. First of all, self-knowledge is you can't get everything else done if
Who can?
you know yourself.
Who can?
Yourself, the black person, the African.
So why don't you say me?
Huh?
Why don't you say
Like
me?
say you're answering the question more generally or theoretically.
And vaguely?
Because your personal experience.
Yes, yes.
So how did you come to the knowledge of self?
Also, just
Very good.
This is therapy.
oh yes, okay.
1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Basically, the way I came into it is I moved from Nigeria
Right.
to Paris
Okay.
when I was I think 21.
Right.
And when I got to Paris, it was a culture shock
Mm-hmm.
for me
Mm-hmm.
personally to see, and then I discovered racism
Mm-hmm.
because when I was in Nigeria,
No, you're gonna think.
Yeah.
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 And like, so there are people discriminating, people they are
Oh yes.
intolerant.
Yes.
People, right?
Yes. Very much so. Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, what is this? So
Mm.
because of that, that shock, it drew me to research.
Uh-huh.
It drove me to saying that, okay, what is the cause of this?
Mm.
And then I came to some information that if there is something like racism, like everybody here can agree that we have something like that.
Yeah.
All the institutions in that system will reflect racism.
Right.
So basically, I put that into perspective, and then I started kind of critiquing myself to say that if this is true, how has that experience, how has it shaped who I am personally?
Mm-hmm.
So when I thought about it, I came to the conclusion that basically going through what you say is formal training
Mm-hmm.
is basically just a training fitting me to be able to serve certain purposes or in the system.
Right.
We can agree that it's not built
For
us
yes.
or by us.
Yes.
So that is where I came to become aware that okay, there is another way that we can also build a kind of educational system where this puts us, it puts our needs and our demands at the forefront, at the perspective, and the center
Yeah.
of what we need to achieve.
Yeah.
And that is why I started saying, okay, what it did for me. Sorry, I traveled around Europe
Yeah.
for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I went almost everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to meet a lot of people. I was able to network with them, and then I saw that what education did for me personally is it enabled me to see that I'm just not the color that they say that I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see that I'm so
beyond
much
that.
better.
Right.
So I see that like ultimately intelligence is what is going to determine who's going to rule.
Right.
And so it is very, very important if that is true, that education, a new kind of education, should be put at the center of what we need to be all about as African people.
1,000%.
So that is what it has done for me. It has shaped the way I think, it has shaped the way I see the world. I consider myself somebody who is so confident because I have now developed a reward system that's very independent of what other people think about me. So I don't see that our self-esteem or the way we exist in the world should be as a reflection of what other people think of you.
Yeah.
I think we should be self-rewarding,
Right.
self introspective in the way
Right.
we go about our things.
Yeah.
And that is why I think the education is very, very important. As I mentioned before, it prepares them not just to work, but to become leaders. We want a we want to develop what you call a new Black personality, a new Black person. So that is what basically what the education has done for me, and what I'm looking to impact on the younger generations as well, so that you'll be able to move confidently and do
What they need to do. Okay. I love that. That's very good. Lot better. A lot better. That's good. Yeah. I feel like that story, I feel yeah, that was wrong one. I feel like it allows us to know a lot of yourself. I think again, like understanding that for men, they're like men and people, it's like th- there's something trying to protect you, you know, like ego tries to protect you. So it's like, don't be vulnerable, don't share, don't let them see, you know what I mean? But that's what gives you the power. That's what gives you the differentiation. And you find that a lot of men are kind of like, man, bro, finally someone said it because we've been stressing ourselves. It's the truth, right? The right audience comes in and they're kind of like, bro, thank you for like working on that because that's what we've been thinking. And that's how you attract an audience that's genuinely for you, right? But thank you for sharing that. I think that's really key. And it's really self-explanatory, really. I don't think that there's more to that. And I think what you said about developing your own reward system is very akin to growth. Because the thing is that it takes a lot to go away from what people expect of you, which is what I was mentioning about post past your followers. Like we don't post certain things or do certain things because of the judgment of others. But once we start to post past them and create our own reward systems, it's like literally us and our systems, right? And whether people like it or not is when the ego starts to shrink because it's not trying to protect you. So that's amazing. Miss Kaden, how about you? What would you say? Why do you care about? No, we talked about why you care about self-help. Why'd you write a book?
Why did I write it? Oh,
You could have done anything else, but you decided to write a book. Why?
because the pandemic hit us and they said, go inside and don't come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to type and wrote the book Resilience.
Okay.
The journey of some of this
Right, because you have a first book before that, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So I would say that my writing started because of like therapy, right? I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to get better. I would write anything that comes to my mind.
Right.
I write it down.
Right.
So when I go to bed, I don't have to ruminate or I. So by the time it was when COVID hit, I had 20 journals.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I typed them into the computer.
Okay.
It was manuscript came out and then the book came out too.
Okay.
Later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how my writing started.
Okay.
And my writing also was connected to
Okay.
my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
My experiences inform my decisions.
Mm-hmm.
My experiences guide me.
Mm-hmm.
My experiences show me how pain is,
Mm-hmm.
but also it gave me passion
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the second book also the same thing. I think when I was growing up, I've been a service person. I was born to serve.
Right.
So I worked also in the service industry.
Right.
I was a nurse for 12 years.
Right.
And after doing nursing, I'm coming to this one is almost the same, working with people
Right.
and storytelling, leadership,
Mm-hmm.
which is connected to my natural being as a first child in the family,
Brilliant.
African girl.
Yes.
And then we have come to responsibility. They say when you take responsibility, you become the solution.
1000%.
And I solve problems. And then I went through instability and uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as I wrote my values before, honesty, courage, and stability.
Mm-hmm.
I have been through a lot of instability that I understood what it felt like to be stable.
Mm.
And I value that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good to just be able to manage how I think, how I feel, and how I do.
Mm. I love that.
So yeah, I'm a woman of service.
Okay. Wow. Woo. Very, 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 very. And I feel like this is what the world needs to experience in its totality. Would you, and then just a final question, why, what does writing do for you? Because I love how you said that the first book was a bunch of your journal entries, or your journal entries. Like, what does writing do for you in terms of just in general?
Writing to me is an outlet.
Okay.
Writing to me is, I went through PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So when I write, I reach to certain pockets of my mind
Mm-hmm.
that I had blocked before.
Yeah, PTSD is heavy.
And it comes down.
Yeah.
And that gives me a sense of healing.
Okay.
That there's healing going on.
Okay.
That's why sometimes I want to capture it right away.
Right away, yeah. When it comes, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Would you then, in community, would you say that you just like being private in terms of, I just want to be an author and I want to deliver? Or in terms of building community, would you teach people to write? Or would you want to do like reading? Like I have reading meetings where you come to this meeting and I read you part of my book and we can make themes. Because there's a difference between teaching people how to write, and if that's not where you want to be, that's fine. Or would you want to create a space where women can come together and either share their stories, or you can share your story and create discussions around that? What does that look like for you?
Is this the one we just mentioned?
Yeah.
Sharing stories with other women.
Yeah.
And just having a space like this.
Okay.
And let people
share their stories.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then so we can learn from each other.
Okay. 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 Brilliant.
Podcast.
She was on a
I
podcast.
attended podcast interviews.
Yeah.
But I don't have mine.
I love that.
Like on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The hour-long podcast, tell your story, invite other immigrants, talk about their journey.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, podcast.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, definitely write that down.
Good starting point for then building communities.
Yeah.
That now also and I think it's important to put your face out there, not just do audio, like actually create a YouTube channel and put your podcast episodes out there.
1000%.
You're the face of it, you're more, it humanizes you, it's not just a voice.
Yeah,
that you're
driving
and
Yeah.
so more women feel more comfortable showing up in those spaces that you're trying to create because you feel like a safe space for them. So
Absolutely. 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 And I think I love what Tammy said, because when you start to do it, at first it may not feel like anything is going on, but the thing about it is the more you say your truth, the more you keep repeating your message. That when you keep repeating the message of the wounded healer, yes, I've been where you are. When you keep repeating this message, people will continue to be like, oh, she's been where I am. She talked about this. She talked about that. She's talked about the different areas that matter to her. She's talked about immigration. She's talked about family. She's talked about personal growth, things of that nature. When you keep repeating the message, which is I've been where you are, people begin to see themselves in you, and slowly but surely that traction will come in. So even and then if I was like the wise counsel, now if I were to be like, okay, perfect, how about marketing? Then your podcast, you know how your podcast is on YouTube?
Yeah.
They're now doing live podcasts.
Yeah.
So something like this, you could have your live podcast set up with your audience around you.
Yes.
So you're making content while also being in community.
Right.
Amazing, 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 amazing. I love that. Yeah. That's fantabulous. That's fantastic. Who says fantabulous? Okay. So I will skip over these questions. Oh, here's a really important one. And for everybody online, feel free to answer as well. But how do you want people to feel when they encounter your brand? And what personal transformation do you want to model for them? So I'll give you an example. I want people to feel like they finally have permission to be themselves without apology. I want to model that they can be wildly successful while being authentic, messy, and human. My transformation was learning that my sensitivity isn't a weakness, it's my superpower. I want my clients to see that their weird traits might be exactly what makes them magnetic. Now, the last line definitely relates to me. I definitely want to see my clients. I want to see everything that makes you weird, everything that makes you quirky. It doesn't scare me. I love it. I know that's what makes you you, and I know that's what makes you different. And as your brand coach, as your marketing strategist, those are the things that I would use to help build that, right? Where other marketing specialists and other brand specialists try to create a persona for you. This is largely what we see.
I don't like that.
So this is largely, I understand. And this is largely what we see in the music industry. The music industry likes to take away the life out of an artist. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, let me give a really, like a Lady Gaga, right? You can excel in a mask. I can't take that away. But she was never this like high fashion, kind of like weird, quirky. Like she was always weird and quirky, but they really over exaggerated. Now, can you be successful in your mask? Absolutely. But you see that the longevity has died down. I'm sure because of music politics. Sure.
Why you don't Donald Trump's fashion diagram?
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Why doesn't his what die down?
That's who he is.
That's who he is. Yeah. Yeah. That is who he is. That is who he is. That is why he has people. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting? Ah, no. Absolutely. You know what makes that interesting? What makes that really interesting is the fact that that's the other side to masks. Not masks. Like that's the other side to authenticity. Not everybody's going to like it.
Wow.
And that's why for some people it's like, for some of us in the world, it's like if somebody doesn't like who you are, then you wear a mask so that you can be more palatable to people. But Donald Trump doesn't, he doesn't wear a mask. That's who he is. He's shameless, he's shameful, he's exactly, because they're just like him. Exactly. Exactly. And I think this is why in life, it's important to be your most authentic self so you can actually see the world for what it is.
Yeah.
Because you'll be thinking the way you and I and all of us are in the room, you would think like, that's no way to live, because why? That's how were brought up. That's how we were taught not to be. Maybe that's what we actually don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you'll be looking at it with rose-colored glasses. And if you're gonna, let's say he was a competitor in your industry, you would be going at it like, oh, why do you behave like this? Why do you do this? No, you have to see it like that is how they are. That is who they are. And I'm just gonna be myself. And all I can do is grab the market towards me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's true. That is how he is. So how do you want people to, oh yes. So I was talking about I want my clients to see their weird traits might be exact, and that because that might be exactly what makes them magnetic. So I always want my clients to feel, I want you to feel free. I want you to feel like you can take your wig off, you can take your bra off, you can do what you want to do, and I'm not gonna judge you. That's how I like people to feel. I always want people to feel around me. And the thing is that I'm saying I want, but it's something natural, right? So I'm not trying to force it, but for the lack of a better word, or let me say, actually, there is a better word. I appreciate when people feel like they can be their absolute authentic self around me. I want my clients to feel safe. I want my clients to feel like when they encounter me, there's only going to be truth, because they know one of the things that I don't care. Like I want you to tell me all the ugly, because if you tell me all the ugly and you tell me the absolute truth, I can help. But if you wear a mask, there's nothing I can do. I will also know that you are bullshitting me. But unlike then, I have more than one strike. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I have more than one strike because I know human beings will lie. I know they won't tell the truth. I have more of that nurturing space within myself to understand that. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is that I want you to feel like even after you lie to me, I'm still not going to judge you. Like, you say what you want to say. When you're ready to tell the truth, my door is open, right? But I'm not gonna. So I always want people to feel, one of my top values is freedom.
Oh, I like that.
So I want you to feel absolutely free to be. What are you telling your top? How do you want people to feel when they encounter you?
I like how it was put in the response there. I
Mhm.
want them to feel like they have permission to be themselves
Mm-hmm.
in their home, you know?
Yeah.
So like, it's like, okay, now it's okay to be me. I don't have to I don't have to create a space that looks like every single space I see on Pinterest or what people think perfect looks like right now. Like, I can introduce all my quirks into this space that other people might not understand. And it's okay because I understand it, and these are the things that add meaning to my life or spark something in me when I wake up.
1000%.
You know, like these are like the facilitators for my creativity.
1000%.
I want to be that person that helps people
Yeah.
create space, those kinds of spaces for themselves.
Brilliant. Oh, it's also giving guide. I think, yeah, there's another.
I do this for real.
Don't worry. At the end of this, there's one-on-ones for all of you. I got you. I got you. I love that. Yeah, and it's gonna happen. I think wanting people to guiding people in that way is really giving, like, you're not alone. Like, lean on my expertise, right? Use my eyes, use my intuition, use my gut. Yeah, definitely. Definitely write that down. Like, you know what I mean? Because the thing is that, like, I don't know all the furniture that's out there. I just know myself. But I know that when I go to Tammy's going to do such a deep dive because of how detail orientated she is. And again, this may be now, this may be later, this may be the evolved version of her, but as she grows and learns, because that's one thing that we're learning today is that we're giving inner child Tammy space to start small. So right now, you know, as we're talking, and this is what these classes are, these classes are for, is that Tammy can now say, you know what? Maybe my supersonic pattern recognition is exactly what I'm going to use in order to build my clientele's profile. Because people build profiles in many different ways, right? So I think that when you start to develop a business and you do a profile, and I realize, like, if I sit down with Tammy and Tammy says, you know, Fortune, you know, like your quirky behavior and your playfulness, but your no fluff type of, you know, when she starts to understand my archetype and she infuses the knowledge of psychology, I already trust Amy to design my house. That's good. If so, when you come to my house, by the time we get there, you already know the inside was designed by the one and only, right? Design model, exactly. But essentially what I'm saying is that before we get there, um Tammy already makes me feel like I can just be myself, right? I can be myself, and she's also going to try to consolidate my wild ideas, because a lot of people will be like, I like this color, I like that color, and I want the bathroom to be like this, and I want the bathroom to be like that. I want it to be Venusian, but I want it to be like French Renaissance, and I want a little African spirituality. You know what I mean? Like, you can you know what I mean? Exactly. And then knowing that when I come to Tammy and I can tell her all my wildest ideas and dreams and thoughts and things like that, knowing that she's not judging me and telling me, oh, why don't you just put, like, go black and white? You know what I mean? She's encouraging me to bring color. And those are the type of interior designers you want to be a part of. You want to, and you also want them to be knowledgeable, which when I keep calling something blue, she's going to be like, no, it's periwinkle, periwinkle. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, having that having that knowledge without making me feel bad, but expanding my mind. So I know that when I get to Tammy, I'm gonna feel like I thought I knew something and I thought I had a cute mood board, but Tammy's really expanding on my thoughts, and she's now going to curate my home in a way that even when I look, even in all my boisterousness, when I look at it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, Timmy, you get it. You know what I mean? So, so that's exactly, that's definitely where we're at, where we're going. So, Lawal, how do you want people to feel when they encounter your brand?
I want them to feel just like one of the values that I have, power. I want them to feel empowered.
Empowered,
I
yep.
want them to feel that they finally have something that they can identify with,
Okay.
something they can call their own.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is much bigger than myself personally. This
Yep.
is for all of us.
Yes.
So that is how I want them to feel. I want them to feel part of a community, part of building what you can say is in your culture, something more progressive,
Yes.
something that is going to actually help them get some problem
Solve. Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So feeling empowered, feeling like the
part of a
problem
community.
answered.
Yes.
And then what was the third one?
Feeling like a part of a community.
Feeling like they're part of the community. Okay. All right. How do you make people feel part of the community?
Well, just try to see what problems they have, for example. So yes.
Hey.
So there is one thing everyone. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Right. One thing everyone has in common is everyone wants to do something. So it is just trying to get to the root of what everyone wants to do.
Yeah.
And how you can be able to do that without, I think we'll speak about without creating more problems in the process.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, that is basically how you make you feel you belong to a particular community. And for people to come into a space where they feel cared for, because I see that there is this neglect and this idea that doesn't really very beautiful, so we just want to see and identify something that is actually authentic, something that is actually original, something that is actually
Okay. Okay.
Oh, the microphone to the platform.
Thank you. Oh my God.
I thought I was just going to get there
Cute. Thank you guys. You guys are so sweet. Sorry, my phone is dying, so I just want to make sure, but I am listening. Okay, so. Repeat one more time. Just in a condensed 30 seconds. Go.
So I want people to see that they are part of something that is really important.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Something that is important. Something that not just that they have to beg for. It's something that they get included. Something that with that sense of leadership, taking the charge, taking our responsibility for that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So when I love what you said, because I feel like that's I understand very much for somebody like you in terms of not having to beg to be a mom. And not be beg with your practical life, it's the nuts, right? Racism, huh?
Turns into a beggar.
It turns into a beggar, right? Please, be as a human being.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all the thunder, right? Honestly, oh wait, this is supposed to go the other way. Okay. So essentially, I said, thank you, Marilyn. Sorry, I'm your table. Go ahead and speak. Yes. Okay, push it in. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. So the table. Yeah. There you go. Sorry. Hold on a little bit. Okay. All right. I am back. Okay. I see why you say that, why you want people to encounter that, because of that lived experience of your own inclusion, yeah?
That is correct.
Your own exclusion.
Exclusion.
Okay, brilliant. Miss Kadan, how about you? How do you want people to feel when they encounter your brand?
I want people to feel like they can stop thinking about it.
What does that mean?
Like they just like let it be like a catch to them.
Okay.
A catch not because of the business, but because of how it means.
Okay.
What it means.
Okay.
I want them to be able to connect with it.
Okay.
And when you say encounter, right?
Right.
So I want them to make that connection there with them,
Okay.
that they can be able to say, you know what, I like Kiden's brand.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
so then people are likely to share it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
So you want them to, so the answer is that you want them to like it? Okay.
Like in terms of, do you wanna help people who are also dealing with like immigration? It's maybe they'll
Right.
also see you at like safe space.
Yes. Yes.
And you can be the person that has, like, you were saying consultations or coaching sessions.
Yes.
Yeah, they would like able to book you and like answer any questions that they have regarding grading or anything.
Yes.
Yes, but yesterday I was talking to my brother-in-law,
Yes.
and he paid 100 US for my book.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, wow. So he said to me that whenever he wants to solve a problem, he would reference my book. He would go to my book and read.
Okay.
So I think, as you said, I want them to connect with me, connect with the story, and be able to come up to my space. And then I also want them to be personally transformed through the questions that maybe I ask or they ask, the interaction. My journey has also been about connection.
Connection, right.
Connect as human beings.
Right.
Right? So I want them to feel like home, they're welcomes to home.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Brilliant. Okay. So so you want them to feel safe and seen.
You said,
Saying she's definitely the right person.
she has. I know, I'm so happy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
So
I
great.
like the value in your story, definitely. I think it's a matter of the marketing of it.
Yeah.
Think of it, you're telling your story in your book, but I think it's also important to put like a summarized version. Well, it's not gonna be a summary because it'll be like an hour-long podcast episode. Like,
Yeah.
the first episode would be my
The
name
summary,
is,
yeah.
and this is my story.
Starting off small.
You know,
Fully agree.
I think that's so important.
I wrote some yesterday and I was writing this on city and title.
1000%.
Yeah, city and title, city and title.
Mhm.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Oh, it's like Egypt, for instance, I went to Egypt. So I saw.
Hi everyone online. Folashade, if you can write how you want people to feel when they encounter your brand.
He said, none of nothing.
Sure, will do.
Minus one.
Brilliant.
I really like me, I did it right.
Brilliant. For everybody online, how do you want people to feel when they encounter your brand? I feel like there's more setup, but that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And due time, the evolved version of yourself can actually do that. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so we're gonna move into the couple of steps that are going to help us define even further our personal shadows. So, step one, first of all, understanding that your personal shadows are the aspects of yourself that we've disowned, denied, or pushed out of conscious awareness. Again, your shadow self is not negative. It's just something that you have not fully embraced about yourself. And you are taking this time and effort and putting in this time in your life to consciously bring that to the forefront. Fashade says, based on the last question, When people encounter my brand, I want them to be able to make a connection to their identities and also a connection to their roots and heritage. 1,000%. So if I may introduce Folashade, she is the CEO of Discover Lagos. And basically, essentially what they're doing is edutourism in Nigeria. She's bringing us back to the indigenous practices, like, you know, everything from the idols, everything from the spiritual practices to the natural way of foraging and living. And instead of making Nigeria what now is we know as Dirty December and it's party, 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 Falashade is reminding us that before we even really get into that, that's great. But like including inclusive, my bad. So inclusive of how well we are as creators and making music and things of that nature. We are also incredible, not just surviving, but we have respect for the land and we have all these type of intelligences that are very natural. So she's bringing us back to our natural intelligences, you know, through herbology. Your follower on Instagram, brilliant. Yes, absolutely. And she herself is a thought leader. I'll definitely send everybody's information in an email. But essentially, I think as a thought leader in that respect, I think it's really important because I think everybody's trying to push Dirty December, which I like I said is great. But I think that it's also really important to understand that our indigenous intelligence is what brings Africa to the rise that it is. And when Loa comes back, that's exactly what I will say, because I feel like education spans different areas. So thank you so much for sharing, Falashade. Okay, for Reina, she says, it's kind of hard to say. I want people to feel seen, empowered to express themselves authentically. Exactly. And I think what you want for people is to feel safe, and seeing them looks very different for different, that like with the values that you have and the type of archetype you have, how you see people and how you empower them, and giving them the space to authentically express themselves is important, because how do you build trust? Do you build trust by being more nurturing, or do you build trust by being super direct? You know what I mean? Or do you have a balance between the two? So thank you for your answer. I love that. And yeah, hi everybody. I hope you're staying engaged and informed. We're online on all different platforms. Welcome to the Branding and Shadow Work Masterclass. This is the one of many. And yeah, just come along with us. I know you can't see the slides, but as I'm talking, please feel free to, yeah, leave your comments in the section, in the comment section. Okay, so we'll move on. So what you pushed out of your conscious awareness, disowned or denied, are your emotions. These are the three things I really want everybody to write down. Your emotions, you're welcome, Deji. Yeah, I really want you to write down your emotions, not your perceived value of emotions, right? How you feel is incredibly important. And there's a gamut of feelings that you can feel, everything from anxiousness to I feel like happiness, anger, fear are all kind of the top basic ones, but there is anxiousness, there is what's another feeling? There is hyper awareness, right? I know it's a thing, but that's also a feeling, because there's like a jolt in your body that you tend to feel when you're like hyper aware or hyper independent or hyper all of these type of things. So your emotions are really important. Your values, like you may not value something, right? Or you may value something. Like I see topics online that I always want to respond to, but because I'm trying to be quote unquote respectful to my family, or quote unquote, I don't want to be so controversial, I tend to steer away from sharing my actual thoughts, right? It's like even subtle things like, are you a person who curses when you talk, or you don't curse when you talk? Right? If you have learned to not curse when you talk, it's a learned thing. But who you actually are is you like to F-bomb and say ass and say things like that, right? So that's largely who you are, and you have to own it, because it's in owning that people can be like, I love how raw that person is, right? I love how whatever. You don't need to sanitize yourself. So your values, and your values, there's a gamut. We've already talked about our values, and then your memories. Memories can be good or bad, but the thing is that when you access your memories, in this state now, you're able to better assess. Like when I got up on that stage back in school, and I was supposed to, deliver something, and I forgot my lines, and some people laughed or whatever. Now you're able to kind of pathologize, like, okay, like kids laugh, like who the fuck, you know what I mean? Like who cares? Now I'm gonna get on that stage and I'm gonna say what I have to say. I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna open myself up. Or let's talk about judgment, something that you and I share, where it's kind of like, judgment, and also like of myself, not even like of everybody else. I think sometimes we tend to judge ourselves in the sense where it's like, you put out a video, you didn't get 1,000 likes, like you're nobody. Like, why are you gonna keep trying? You know what I mean? We tend to we tend to go back into our memory and like gaslight ourselves, and kind of like hold ourselves hostage, which is what a lot of us are dealing with. I think that's where the fear of visibility is. It's not necessarily even the world holding us hostage, it's ourselves holding ourselves hostage. Exactly. So in order to bring out and connect that to our branding, I think what's really important is to understand that. Wait, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about fear of judgment, right? And fear of visibility. So what I was saying essentially is that when you realize and you do your pathology, do your pathologies on all your memories. Every memory that feels uncomfortable to look at, and don't get me wrong, there are some memories that are super uncomfortable to remember and think about and process. Leave those ones alone for now. But the memories of like, how I had to fight, how I had to survive, how I bombed my first project, how I did this, how I do that, look at it again from a fresh perspective, right? And that's how you know you're healing. Healing is literally looking back and being able to assess the memory, assess the issue, and now lean into the solution. For example, again, that's what I was talking about, the posting part, right? When I first started vlogging and blogging, first of all, I didn't know how to do anything. Second of all, I would post something and nobody would see it. Therefore, I was like, nobody's seeing me and all these kind of things, right? So then you tend to lock yourself away. But now as an adult and as a person who's healing, as I look at that, I would say, well, Fortune, you were lacking consistency back then, right? Because if you been more consistent, maybe this would have happened.
Yeah.
But then also giving myself grace that now that I'm an adult and I'm more in control and I'm parenting my inner child, I am going to work more on being consistent. And then therefore I can still gain the traction. One, also for everybody listening, it's not over. Like you can start at any time, at any point. It's literally not over. I think sometimes I'm a woman, I'm in my 30s. And I think it's one of those things where you might feel like, oh, I've hit a certain wall, right? Like Miss Kidan, like, come on, you're in your age, not even in your prime yet, but you're still like, you're still, a lot older than us, but you're still doing the things. I don't know a lot of women your age that would be doing what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? But I think that childlike essence that you allow yourself to have, that generational fluidity that you're able to have, like today, like, you know what I mean? Like you're able to relate and talk with all of us and allow us to share with you. I think that makes you incredibly unique. And that's actually one of the things that make your brand.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's really incredible. Yeah. Exactly. So that's really important. You're very welcome. So yeah, so it's one of those things where I do encourage, like, you can start at any time and you can start at any point. Don't lock yourself, because the thing is that that's one thing too. Sorry, I have to put this into things that are in our unconscious awareness. One of the things that are in our conscious awareness is the fact that one of the things that are in our unconscious awareness is conditioning. So conditioning is also deeply embedded in there. women can't do X, men can't do X, children can't do X, adults can't do X, elderly people can't do X. That's one. Two, and funny enough, it's like, well, that's not even who I am. You can have a child wise beyond their years. You can have an adult who's just learning, or you can have an adult who may be seasoned. She may be a mother, she may be a whole bunch of things, but she's playful. But the world doesn't want women to be playful, right? You can have men who are hyper independent, who may find community something like outside of themselves, right? Conditioning is also deeply embedded upon the many layers in what we deal with. So just to keep that in mind as well. All right, so shadow awareness, so in the context of brand creation, these are the parts of ourselves that unconsciously influence our brand decisions while remaining largely invisible to us. So again, so it's basically in your brand creation, the parts of yourself that are discounted, disowned, pushed out of your consciousness are the parts of yourself that unconsciously influence your brand. So unconsciously, for example, and I've dealt with this too, I'm never going to say something that I haven't dealt with myself, right? So essentially, when we're talking about like pricing, low self-value is unconsciously causing you to not price yourself properly. It's like, you should ask for an extra $2,000 and you don't ask for an extra $2,000. And believe me when I say these things are real, because it has genuinely happened to me. I almost left $4,000 on the table because I didn't price myself properly. And the reason why I didn't price myself properly was because, one, I underestimate the value in which I offer. That is low self-value. Like, a lot of what I'm doing is valuable. But because it's so natural to me, I also have kind of a little part of it where, because it comes so natural to me, I could give it for free. Like, it wouldn't really matter to me because I do this naturally.
But if you sell it, make more money.
Exactly. I would make more money, and then like I can buy the fashions that I want to buy and look nice, right? Well, yeah, sure.
The intellectual services, how do you measure? Right?
That is such a good question. Right, right. One cup is this much, right? Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what's funny? I feel like it teaches you a deeper level of the world. A lot of it is arbitrary. People pay for perceived value. If I say this class is worth $5,000, it's worth $5,000, and whoever's gonna come is gonna come. 1,000%. You might place your book at $20, but if you say the book is worth $50 and people perceive that value, they're gonna pay 50. Right? If an interior design project is, $20,000, but like Timmy feels like it's 50, and the client is aligned and they see the value of who she is, her values, and everything she's integrated, they're gonna pay $50,000.
That's almost feel like for, because I understand like it's a high ticket service, but when you're just starting out and you don't really have a portfolio of clients to show people, that's when like people try to lowball you at the start.
1,000%.
But I do need some guidance when it comes to setting a price for those first, let's say, first 5 clients.
Right.
Because, they would ask for a portfolio, but your portfolio is based on theoretical work. It's not, something that's been produced out in the world. So how do you set a fee for your value at that point in time?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think, if I may, I can, lived experience. This class was originally priced at $100. And then through trial and error, I realized that, first of all, entrepreneurs still have full-time jobs. So I found that through that, maybe $100 is a lot, especially for a concept they don't know anything about, and me that they don't know anything about, right? So my value in knowledge is still high, but my value in terms of awareness and market capital is not so high. So then I was like, okay, let me bring it down to about $60. even in bringing it down to $60, nobody was still biting. And I was doing everything that my marketing skills brought me. And then I realized, and I was like, Fortune, it's still about your market value, right? Your knowledge doesn't decrease, but you're going to have to make some sort of compromise here, a little bit of one. So then finally the tickets finally came down, and then people started biting and everything like that. Granted, a lot of people couldn't be here physically, but the thing is that, like, I think in terms of pricing yourself, when you know the knowledge is high, just look at the market value in terms of yourself, and then trial and error. So now I know that would people pay $20 to come to a class like this? They would. However, I do know that the more, and I do know that the value is high, which is probably what's going to allow it to take off the way it's supposed to take off. Or the way it wants to take off. I'm definitely not in control, but when I gain more market value, which comes through the technical side, meaning that I'm having more clients or I'm having more ticket sales as we do more classes and things like that, then I can slowly begin to increase the price because I'm gaining market value. So I think that if you look at your market value and you say, you know what, I'm just starting off, yeah, there are beginner prices that are, you can ask this, these are the points where you would ask clients, like, what's your budget? You know what I mean? And then I feel like when you ask what's your budget enough, and then you actually deliver on your skill, then you can start pricing like, okay, this is your budget, but like, this is how much I'm worth. So I'm going to add, so where you might price me at like $5,000, where you might price me at $5,000, it's going to be 6 or 7,000. And then see what that gap is, and then just keep pricing like that. Yeah. It is trial and error. You're absolutely fish out of water. It's trial and error for sure.
So I would charge like even under 1,000 and still had somebody trying
Lowball you. Exactly. Exactly. I think that's because that's also coupled with survival mode. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, I get it. I completely understand, but it's one of those things where once your brand becomes, I don't work with clients like that, then we go into the spiritual. The universe starts to bring people who are like, okay, now that she knows her value, let's bring her more high paying clients. And I think you can start going like that. So that's really it. I think let the client know, like, it's not in my budget. Like, if you want to work with me, this is what it is. If you can't pay it, then unfortunately gotta go, because I need to use the time to find more clients. And then just keep increasing your market value by integrating more of your shadow and your higher self. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Awesome.
Learning process.
Oh, it's higher self is practice. It indeed is practice. Okay. So shadow awareness to brand opportunity, like we were talking right now. And then unconscious shadows. So unconscious shadows means brand limitation. Shadow awareness means brand opportunity. All right. Brilliant. So essentially just a physical diagram. This is what you show of yourself, right? Like, I'm this type of person, I walk like this, I talk like this, I act like this, and things like that. But what your real self is all of this and all of this. So essentially what I'm trying to teach here is that it is so important to see yourself as layers. Don't see yourself as one thing. You are an accumulation of things. Look at yourself in terms of layers. And the best way to look at yourself in terms of layers is to essentially look at what you care about, right? In terms of career, what do I care about? In terms of family, what do I care about? In terms of money, what do I care about? In terms of my beauty and my physical appearance, in terms of my spirituality, what do I care about, right? And then when you're able to look at the different categories of yourself, then you want to do an assessment. And it's a bunch of questions, which we won't do today, but we'll work on together. But a simple question is, what am I showing now? And what is my higher self? So in career, am I showing that I'm worth 10,000? And what would my higher self say? No, my higher self says I'm worth 20,000. And if you believe that, strongly believe that, and I don't mean like make these things up, You can have humble beginnings. Maybe it's 5,000, right? And maybe your higher self thinks it's 10,000, whatever. It just thinks that it's more of what you think it is. Essentially, what you start to do is, in order for me to get from what I'm showing, which is part of it, I need to get to all of it. I need to integrate my higher self. That means I have to see myself as this right now, but know that this is all of me, right? That's a very simple, very, 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 very simple explanation in that. So just think of your life in terms of, who am I right now? I'm aware of my wounds. I'm aware of my limiting beliefs. Maybe I'm aware, maybe I'm not aware, but we all have them, fine. And then what would my higher self do? Ask yourself all the time. I promise you will begin to integrate into your higher self by always asking yourself, what would my higher self do? When you want to underprice yourself, ask what your higher self would do. When you want to market your book, ask what my higher self would do. When you want to show up online, ask yourself what you would want to do. If you're starting your school and doing whatever, ask what your higher self would do. It's always asking. For me, especially, like I said today, I had to ask. I am living an example of asking my higher self what I would do. I was like, not a lot of people are coming to this thing, right? I'm not afraid to repeat it because I wanted to sink in my subconscious that that's how I genuinely feel. But my higher self was like, no, you follow through, right? The unevolved part of you says, quit. Nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that. But I care about the three souls, 3, 4, 5, however many souls online. Well, the one for Bala Shadi for sure, and then everybody else. I care about these souls enough that I have to show up. I have to show up. I'm not going to quit. Because why? The unevolved version of me quits because it's dealing with consistency issues. And the only way to mitigate that is to ask, what would my higher self do? Yes. Okay. So, how personal brands influence brand creation. So, essentially, the goal is to create these stronger, more honest connections that attract the right audience who then potentially will convert to buying customers. All right. So in your brand, when we're talking about the technical things, the visual identifiers, logos, colors, typography. The reason why this is important that we're talking about, because we don't just wake up and pick a logo. We don't. We don't wake up and pick a color palette. There is color psychology. We don't wake up and pick a typography. There is typography psychology. There is a psychology to everything. There's a psychology and a philosophy to everything. When you start picking random things that are not really who you are, then we know you're wearing a mask, and you yourself will not be able to connect to it because you feel like, this is not really who I am. This is not really who I am. So you want to rebrand over and over and over again. You don't stay consistent with the one thing. However, the point of logos, right, is an emblem. You basically want to brandish literally with rod and fire. You want to brand that in people's mind. But in order to do that, you have to be so connected to your logo, color, typography, and everything else that has to do with your brand. It has to be so real to you that it's undeniable that that's who you are. When I see Tammy's logo design model, I know that it's her because I know the work that she put into it and all the other and all those other things. Tone of voice and messaging. I have experienced people show up online with this very quirky voice. Hi guys, welcome to my show. And then when you talk to them on the phone, they're like, "Hi Fortune, how are you doing? How is life?" You know what I mean? And you're kind of like, huh? How did we get here? Exactly. Is this a new person that we're dealing with? And then you realize because they have an online presence and they have an offline presence. And again, not that these things can't work, but they're absolutely not necessary. But for us today, knowing your tone of voice and your messaging is your tone of voice is how you speak naturally. Just pick your natural voice. It's the easiest thing, right? When you're talking to clients, I don't change my pitch. Hi, John, how are you? I'm sending the invoice, waiting for you to pay the invoice. I'll see you later. Hi, John. Love the project. We'll talk to you soon. This, that, and the third. And then content, when you're dealing with your shadow, these are the things that, do you see how like my pitch and my tone do not change? That's literally because that's who I am, right? And then my messaging. Your messaging, remember when we talked about the archetypes? You're safe to be here. I've been where you are. I hear you. Education matters to me. That is your messaging. So when people are describing you to somebody, they're going to describe your messaging over your tone of voice. So they'll say things like, Tammy really cares about your home being the interior of your home being incredibly personal to you, because even when you talk to her naturally, even when you're talking to her, she's always looking for what makes you you and why you like what you like. And like I can already, do you get what I'm trying to say? Like that's essentially when people meet you or are describing to other people, they're going to describe your messaging. When people are describing Lawal, they're going to be like, what? Lawal's my boy. That guy is really into education and liberating Africa. They didn't ask how tall he was. They didn't ask him the size of his biceps. They didn't ask anything. People are going to share and spread your messaging, right? The same with Miss Kiden. It's like, Miss Kiden, like that's like one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Right now, she's on a mission to liberating people who have just migrated from one country to the other, and also women who have gone through this. And she's looking for a brighter future for women. That's what we're going to describe, and then that's essentially how you know that's what your brand is, right? Your brand personality traits. I have a couple, and I will share them with you when the actual official version of the book comes out. But brand personality traits are like, are you stoic? Are you playful? Are you this? Are you that? And you will essentially know a little bit of who you are as you just solidify your brand personality. If you've noticed today, I haven't said anything about create anything. I've said solidify who you are, double down on what you already know, right? Sensory experiences, sound, sense, texture. Now, somebody like me, when I start to get the budget, this experience is going to be entirely different. I don't have money. But when it does come, I would want the beginning of my classes to start off with Afro sound. I would want this place to smell like um I like lavender. I like chamomile. Like I would want it to have that like not really a floral scent, but like a brain stimulating scent that's sweet. I would want the textures to be very like this is like I love this. Like this is there's nothing wrong with this, but I like a little bit of texture. You know what I mean? I would want there to be like some pillows. I would want there to be like just something to keep you soft. Because why? I'm thinking about your entire experience. I'm not just thinking about come to the class and be here, because that's who I am. And that's something like Tammy would relate to, because we're curators in that respect. I mean, she's a chief curator. Me, I'm just baby curator. You know what I mean? But these are the type of things that we think about, right? I can imagine if Tammy were to host an event with a proper budget. I think like no, like crazy. Um, we're a what? And then like for Lawal, right? When you talk about your experience, let's say it's sensory experience. Oh, yes, that's the thing. There is hi everyone, thank you. So there is marketing gets so deep. Let me just talk about marketing. Marketing gets so deep that there is scent marketing. So for example, when you walk by a Cinnabon, it's not supposed to smell that strong, but they amplify the smell. So when you're in a store, you're in a mall, you know it's Cinnabon because they exaggerate the smell like that. When you walk into certain perfumeries or certain fashion houses, there's a certain scent that they have because they want you to know, they want you to connect that with the brand. So that in and of itself is a thing. Um, Yes, that's a thing. So, brand narratives and story. Again, what's the brand story that you're telling us? What are you sharing with us? What is that repeated story that we can share in our mind? All right, so I'm gonna move a little bit fast just because of time, and I guess we'll have lunch at our closing because it's almost 4. Okay, so branding and psychological elements work together. So there's consistency when elements appear together repeatedly. So again, you're naturally going to do things the way you do them. You don't have to act. Distinctiveness, when elements stand out from competitors. Because we're working on our shadow work, we're going to start to see what makes us different. Relevance, when elements relate to consumer needs or values. And then emotional resonance, when elements trigger specific feelings. When somebody talks about you, Lawal, how do I feel? When somebody talks about you, Tammy, how do I feel? Same with Miss Cadet. You know what I mean? When somebody talks about you, I know they're talking about you. Do you see that like truth in that? Like I know if somebody talks about like somebody like having almost like, how would I say, somebody who's very particular and like very like who plans things, I know they're talking about Tammy. Like I just know they're talking about her. If you're talking about somebody who has depth and breadth in different religion, in different geographical experiences, I know they're talking about wow. You know what I mean? If you're talking about somebody who's very passionate and who defies the odds of age, sex, and gender and cares about liveliness and livelihood post traumatic situation, I know they're talking about Miss Cadet, right? So those are some of the things that we want to essentially work through. Okay. So expression shadows, expression shadows, it's about limiting how deeply we express our brand voice and personality. Don't afraid to get super deep. Visibility shadows, affecting how comfortable we are with being seen or recognized. Influencing our comfort with, value shadows, influencing our comfort with communicating worth and pricing. Connection shadows, limiting the depth of relationships we create with our audience. So as you're working on what you're working a while, you'll realize that as you work on increasing the depth, like making it less vague and separating yourself, people will be able to relate more and you'll find more people being connected to you. So that's connection shadows. You got this though. You got this. Okay, I'm gonna stop here in terms of the presentation. I'm gonna go back to the workbook. We're gonna just do some final workbook stuff and then because I think the workbook has been really like helpful. Okay. So okay.
As well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, everybody here, give a copy of everything and first access to the workbook. Yeah. Love, yes. Okay, so I'm gonna, yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna run through this just a little bit. And then I'll ask one person to answer each question. If you have a question after, we can talk about it after for sure. So okay, so now we're going into the actual shadow work. So we've been doing shadow work. We've recognized some of our patterns. We've looked at our values. We've seen our higher self. Now let's do some of the shadow work. Are there a question? And for everybody who is online as well, feel free to answer. Falashade, feel free to answer in the comments. Are there aspects of yourself or your past that you've been hesitant to acknowledge, but could offer depth and authenticity to your brand story? An example of this will be, I've been hesitant to talk about my past as a teen mom because I thought it would make me seem unprofessional. But that experience taught me resilience, resourcefulness, and how to thrive under pressure. Exactly what my overwhelmed entrepreneur clients need to learn. My shameful quote unquote past is actually my superpower. Shameful past, which is interesting. And it's in quotes because it's shameful determined by who. This is why doing the pathology on conditioning is important. Who says it's shameful to be a teen mom? Are we not allowed to, are we not allowed to, I'm not, it's not a mistake. Are we not allowed to feel how we felt and still follow through with our decision? That was a choice that you made, and there's nothing wrong with your choice. And if you feel there's something wrong with your choice, then it's a part of you that you can heal. Right? Are there aspects of, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Um, actually, you know what? Maybe we don't have to answer all of them, but it's okay. We'll keep going. But just keep that in mind. What emotions or reactions do you have toward competitors or others in your industry? And what might those reactions say about your own desires or insecurity? And the example is I get irritated by coaches who charge premium price for basic advice. My reaction tells me I'm insecure about my own pricing and secretly desire the confidence to charge what I'm worth. I'm projecting my fear of being seen as too expensive onto them. That was literally, I don't even know, like, honestly, because you look at some people, sometimes I look at a Tony Robbins and I'm like, I've been to his events before. And no shade to Tony Robbins. He's doing what he can do with what he has, right? But one of the things that I have found is that when I got there, it was like, I am a king. And I was like, ah, so is this what people pay $500 for somebody to come and tell them that they're a king? I'm not understanding. So, huh? No, he was doing affirmations with everybody. He was like, feel your heart right now, and say it with me, say it out loud. I am a king. I am a king. And people pay $500, $1,000 for ticket for somebody to come and say that. So you can imagine if at that time I was a coach, I would be in the corner hot. Because I would have been like, I could absolutely do that. How can, you know what I mean? Like, I could absolutely do that. What is this? But Tony Robbins is charging what he thinks it's worth. No, he's a self-help coach.
His energy is what we're learning.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? And that seems authentic to him, right? To me, I don't think he's wearing a mask. I think that's authentic. Yeah, I do think he may do drugs, but like that's irrelevant. No, I think they do know how to spend their money. People spend their money on perceived value, Auntie.
Yeah.
Because when you really think about it, it's like, why would you pay $500 for a t-shirt?
That's true. Depends on where you're.
No, it's because of the branding.
Yeah.
The branding says I am worth $500, right? And you charge perceived pricing. So those are some of the things to think about. Don't worry, Auntie. Don't worry about writing everything down. You're gonna get all of this. You got this. I got you. Another question to ruminate and percolate in your mind. How do you handle criticism, and what does it reveal about areas where you might feel vulnerable or uncertain? How do you handle criticism?
I can handle constructive.
Okay. But if you get to the left, you won't catch a right.
Exactly.
Come on with it. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right. So you prefer criticism to be constructive.
Where it's coming from, like who is providing that
Yes.
information.
Yes.
This is not coming from someone who I think knows better or is doing something that I want to do. I wouldn't really take it as constructive or
Right.
helpful, and I just see it as hate.
1000%.
Yeah, I think in general, I mean, like it hurts as a human being to know that you're not perfect all the time. But
Yeah.
I think it's helpful.
Yeah.
In the moment, I might feel a little pinch.
Yeah.
But I will take it into
Very
account.
down. Okay. I love that. I love that. That's how it should be. Anybody else who's not giving constructive criticism is projecting. Yeah. And they're unhealed. Fully agree. Okay. What beliefs about yourself or the world might be limiting your ability to fully express your vision for the brand? Now, this is the part in this talk, essentially, where we're talking about conditions. There are women who cannot fully express themselves because of what their religion says. Women should be modest. Women should be mute. Women should be like this. Women should not be sexually expressive of themselves, and this, that, and the nature. Men should not be emotional. Men should be loud. Men should be assertive and aggressive. Children should know their place. Children should not go beyond themselves and things like that. Elderly people should just be old. So what beliefs about yourself or the world might be limiting your ability? Oh, another limiting belief. I think for Black people, thank you so much, Ruth. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, everyone. I think one of the ones, especially towards Black people, is the fact that I think so what we were talking about earlier, what I wanted to add to it was that now that Black Lives Matter is over, now that DEI programming and funding has been pulled, do Black people still think that without this funding, they are not who they are? This funding only amplified who we already have been. So without the funding, without the protocols that have been placed that you have to recognize us as humans, do we still believe that we are who we say we are?
It depends where you live
Mm-hmm.
and your own situation.
Yeah.
Some people, it's so sad because now people are recognized because of intensity.
Mm-hmm.
People are being recognized because there is violence.
Mm-hmm.
Every time there's violence, the cameras will be there.
Yeah.
So when the violence, like when there's no violence, then there's no cameras.
Yeah.
So do we really want that?
No.
We don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think AI is very important because it helps our people. It helps to lessen
Yeah.
the stereotypes,
Right.
the racism,
The bias.
when it
Yeah.
comes to
Stigma.
employment or education.
Right.
And it still helps even the other groups.
Yeah.
Community.
Mm-hmm.
Could be women, could be people with other challenges. They benefit from what we benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that area, I support it.
Yeah. I think something that is really important with this question, this is a question, even in asking individuals, is what I would ask race of people. Because the thing is that Black people as a group, we need to do our shadow work. Africa as a continent, we need to do our shadow work. I often say that I think that Africa was colonized because we didn't have our shadow integrated. And at that time, a shadow wasn't necessary because we share. We do these things naturally. That's literally who we are. However, you violent, and we didn't consider you to be violent. But now that we're in a different time, we have to integrate our shadow. We have to understand that being nice and hospitable and wonderful and amazing and creative doesn't take away from the fact that our literal opponents will kill us at the drop of a hat, right? We can't say because we're kind. It's kind of like it's very like on a basic level. It's kind of like we people please a lot, right? Like we're trying to appeal to white people, like accept us and do this. But then when we integrate our shadow, you stop caring. And you say that you give us money, you don't give us money, you include us, you don't include us, we're still gonna thrive. We're still going to build our life. Especially in the States, I think that was Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can absolutely correct me. I believe when they were building their societies, building their banks, building their systems, building their own real estate and things of that nature, the other race came and tore it down. If our shadow was integrated, we would have gone into their lands and tore it down, and everybody would be tearing everything down. And you know what I mean? Like it would just be a back and forth, and then we wouldn't have an issue. But because we're so hospitable and we can, we tend to, because we've been into, because yes, exactly. Because it's naturally who we are and it's been exploited, but we also allowed for the exploitation of it, right? And we've allowed them to exploit it. So it's like, for reasons beyond us, it's like, oh, because, God says we shouldn't kill, but your enemy will kill you. God says we shouldn't do this, but this people will do that to you. And it's kind of like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Like you've really got to not allow that to happen. It's like white women are very passive aggressive and it's everything is about the angry Black woman. And I know I'm going off topic, but my point is to say, integrating your shadow is like, so I'm angry, Becky. So what?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? I am angry. And this is my type of anger. It's not my fault you have a limited idea of what the different range of anger. My anger is very direct. Your anger is very passive. You have to know this. You know what I mean? It's like when you talk to anybody, this is how I am, that's how you are, and that's okay. See, this is why I am the way I am, because that's how I talk to people. Don't stress me.
Don't say, yeah,
Yeah,
I want to say how I feel.
right.
So everything has to
Exactly. There we go.
keep the peace.
Right. Especially as women, especially as Black women, always keeping the peace. Yes. That you're not exactly. Exactly. When did I stop not speaking for myself or speaking back? Exactly. It's been manifesting for a very long time. Around the heart.
And we're still Black.
Too much. I fully agree. I fully agree. So those type of things that you just recognized, Auntie, and Lawal and Tammy, those type of things are the things to note down in your everyday life. Like, where am I allowing the limiting beliefs of myself, the beliefs about myself and the world? Where are they limiting my ability to fully express my vision for my brand? And remember, your brand is who you are. Your brand is technically who you are. Exactly. Okay, we're almost there, y'all. We're almost there. Okay. So looking at what you've uncovered, which shadow aspect could actually become your biggest brand differentiator? This is a really important question. So, an example, my tendency to overthink everything used to feel like a weakness. I thought it made me my tendency to overthink everything used to feel like a weakness. I thought it made me slow and indecisive, but my clients actually love that I've considered every angle before giving advice. My overthinking is really thoroughness and an industry full of quick fixes and in an industry full of quick fixes, my careful analysis is what makes me trustworthy and different.
That. But it's just a matter of crossing the point between allowing the detail orientation to be an excuse for procrastination,
Right.
but and like getting to the point of, you know, taking action, finding my own version of consistency, if
Mhm.
that should once a week,
Mhm.
figuring out what that is for myself and
1,000%, 1,000%. And that is just parenting your inner child. And then it'll, with practice, because you're a different type of parent. You don't infantilize your inner child. You give them grace to be like, okay, we're procrastinating. Why are you overthinking? What's up? You know what I mean? Okay, like let's set boundaries. Like, okay, we have due dates.
yeah.
We respect, and higher self does what? Higher self respects the due dates. You know what I mean? So essentially, that's how it works. Yeah. Fully relatable. Fully relatable for sure. Um, okay, what kind of okay. Is there anybody else? This is really important. Is there anybody who else who, yeah, what, looking at what you've uncovered so far, what are the shadow aspects that could actually become your biggest brand differentiator? Lawal?
Um,
Can you like revise what some of those shadow aspects would be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So shadow aspects are layered with your values. So the things that we talked about, your values, shadow aspects are what we layered with your archetype. Shadow aspects are what we layered about our icebreaker that we did in the beginning, the part where you said, this is how I am, this is how I show up in the world, but this is how I want to show up now. So for example, is Lowell actually introverted, or is he introverted? No, he's ambiverted, but what did we say again? Said you were an ambivert, but you know how to work the room. Yes, you said something else. Said you were an ambivert, you know how to work the room. Oh no, that was that on that. Okay, what we've covered today, what we've discovered today is that Lawal tends to separate himself from the mission, kind of, sort of. So we can't really connect if we're separate, right? So now that we're working on it. What now would you say is your shadow aspect, and how can you integrate that?
I think the example of the book is this. I think it's due to what I we use as my answer, which is the breaking a lot of things, details. I was also maybe taking a holistic, you say, or personal perspective to look at the things that I like to speaking about. That could be one of the things that I see as the shadow effects. What the shadow effects about.
Would you also say there's a level of relatability, because how do students like find each other? Like if we were students at school, like how do students kind of like gel with each other?
You just see what kind of values they have in common, maybe.
Exactly.
So that is basically incorporating something together to the facts. So we just identify with maybe not the same values, but similar values.
Yes.
That could be something that higher.
Yeah, for sure. So I like how you're now going to be working on relatability, being more related. And this is even how, even not even just for the students, but even for fellow team members, right? Well, as we're working on our hyper independence, I think your team members will realize like, okay, he's like setting boundaries and he's trusting us with this, that, and the third. That makes you different. A man who's leaning into the conditioning that men should be a certain type of way, but you are changing that because you can't come and kill yourself and you can't come and thin yourself out, right? That's two. And then the third one I would say is your need for power and freedom, right? And the fact that your approach to education is universal and experiential, but also the fact that you want to create a generation of critical thinkers. So essentially it's freedom, because you're breaking your four-wallism, right? You're breaking out of that. I think that in itself makes you different, because you're not using power for control, you're using power to liberate. So I think that those are like surface level differentiators. We'll have to, we can't, it's not that in 6 hours that we're going to dig deep, you know what I mean? Brands do this. Absolutely, absolutely. We will absolutely be following up, but like the reason why this class and these courses are so important is because brands like CEOs and like the marketing team and the branding team and the graphic, like they all sit around like this for this amount of time for almost a year before they can pull out what makes our brand different. Because especially if you're talking about long-term branding, if you're talking about long-term legacy, if you're talking about grabbing the market and increasing your market capital, if you're talking about really like if you're talking about crystallizing your brand in people's brains, it's not just picking the logo, it's not just showing up. It's things like this that the more you pull it out, the more you excavate it, you're able to start the practice of integration. Because even after answering these questions, there's the practice of integration. We have to practice on the pricing, and then we have to practice on the starting from scratch. You have to practice on becoming more relatable, because you're still gonna want to like, nah, like, I think this, but like, you know what I mean? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, it's gonna be more like, this is my story type of thing. I think you're gonna start working on, I think Miss Caden's scenario is pretty holistic, but I think for Miss Caden, I think it's more, you've already been doing that work where it's like saying that I don't know and leaning on other people with other expertise to help you know, right? This is how like start a podcast, an hour long, you know what I mean? Gaining that information. Whereas again, women in your age group don't seek the advice of different generations because of their ego and all these type of things, perceived value. So essentially, those are your shadows. But you see, doing those things is what makes you different.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll talk about it again. I think.
Possible.
Yeah, exactly. But shadow integration into the higher self. So remember the stack that I said in the beginning. A lot of who you are has been trained from your inner child or your child, right? Think of yourself as a child. Your parents taught you how to walk and talk. They told you how to dress. Your community said that women do this and men do that. Your religion says men are like this, men are like that, we're separate from God, we're not the same thing. Like there's so many factors that shaped you as a child. Even in your teenage years, it's like, well, girls talk like this, but some like, you know what like it's very much like that, right? We don't speak out loud, we don't share our opinion, we don't. And then then you have then you have the hierarchical wounds in and of them. You have the hierarchical wounds in and of themselves. You're the firstborn, you're the lastborn, you're the middleborn. There's so many things that shape who you are as your inner child. The next thing after that is your shadow self. So these things create like everything that we've talked about, right? Needing to protect yourself, needing to not being able to project your voice, not showing up, things like that. They all come from somewhere. So there's nothing to be, if you feel the shame, that's fine, but there is nothing to be ashamed about. Because one thing about me, I don't like blanket statements. I don't like all is going to be well. It's kind of like, but how do you know that? Like I don't like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't like you've got this. I'm not the type of person to say, oh, you got this way. I'm the type of person like, okay, so how do you got this? Like
Here's how you do this.
yeah, you know what I mean? That's like really literally who I am now. Exactly. And then, integrating into your higher self is me recognizing that I used to be a person who I meant well. If I'm like, you got this girl, like I meant well, but now I've evolved into my higher self where I'm now saying, okay, but how are you going to do well? And now I can better help you navigate instead of just being useful. I'm now like effective. You know what I mean? And I can be authentic through all my stages, through my inner child, through my shadow work, through my higher self. You can be authentic. So to wrap up, okay. Um, okay. So the kind of clients this would attract. So what kind of clients would this authentic aspect attract? This is really important because these are the people who are going to give you their money. So my impatience with small talk and need to cut straight to the core would attract high achievers who are tired of coaches who waste time on fluff. They want someone who matches their directions and won't coddle them through obvious solutions. The kind of clients that I would attract, I think I would attract clients who, like yourselves, are just open to change. Like they're open to like, I'm just gonna try anything. I think that kind of experiential learning, because I can relate to Lowell with that. I love experiential learning. And experiential learning can be outwardly, but it could be personal as well. I'm just gonna try a whole bunch of things and see what sticks. Because the thing is that if I remain too rigid, I'm more than likely not to change because I'm solidified. It's like saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't believe that. I think that elderly people and older people can learn new things, right? But you have to work on the core as to how that was calcified. Anyway, I digress. My point is to say, I think that the kind of clients that I would attract are people who are ready for a very spiritual experience. People who understand that when I talk about the universe, I mean that the reason why you're on planet Earth, the reason why you are alive is to integrate into your higher self, your higher purpose, your higher calling, not out of survival, but out of thriving and out of real, genuine power. And if you're going to work with me, you're ready for that spiritual aspect. I don't need just your money. Money is abundant and it will come to me. I would be well taken care of because me too, I still need a G-Wagon to get. But my point is, my point is, if I would attract spiritually open people, I don't care about them being ready. You just have to be open.
What do you mean by spiritual? Kind of spiritually led people that are kind of
Mm-hmm.
connected to the importance of letting, like your connection to spirit,
Yeah.
your decisions in life.
Yeah. So I think, so the thing, what I mean by spirit is very good question. What you said is very good too. I think when I say spirit, I think people think of an entity. I mean like the life experience. I think that you and me looking at each other is spiritual. I think us being on planet Earth is spiritual. I think that the fact that something directed you to be in this space, you could be anywhere. You could literally have made the choice to have been anywhere, but you chose to be here because you're centering yourself, which is important. This is all spiritual, right? The reason why I'm here is spiritual. The reason why I actually teach, funny enough, is I had a dream and I heard this entity telling me like, teach my children. And I was like, teach your children? Like I'm teaching myself. You know what I mean? But this wasn't like the voice of God. I could feel that this was my calling and my purpose. And then when I started to do the pathology, I realized the reason why I've been holding a mic for a very long, I've been holding a mic for more than 15 years. But I always thought I was going to be a party MC, a bridal shower MC. That's probably where a lot of you know me as, right? Um, I didn't know that the universe was setting me up to teach. And I'm a good teacher, right? I think I am a good teacher. I hope I'm a good teacher. But and that's how I know that the path in which, like, first of all, what I'm embedded with, my natural skills. I'm a natural people person. I can naturally carry the crowd. I don't have stage fright, right? I have my weaknesses as well. Like I'm very much an only child, so I don't, like, if I like you, I like you, and if I don't know how to navigate that exactly. Like, you know what I mean? And then navigating my shadows. Like what I'm saying essentially is that my life journey in and of itself is spiritual. It's accumulated to where I am today. I could be anywhere. The same with yourself. So that's when I say spiritual, I don't mean like a spiritual entity. I mean like life.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the kind of clients that I think I would attract. Tammy, I'm interested in what kind of clients you would attract.
Thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to show up just as myself, I feel like I would hope to attract clients that want to celebrate their individuality or like their quirks or their culture, their hobbies, just whatever it is that makes them happy, and like want to see that and want to be surrounded by that. But they have a desire to create this space for themselves. Like they're not happy in a white box.
Yeah.
You know, they feel like they're losing their mind.
Right.
They need something that feels some life into that.
Yeah.
I feel like that is work.
Okay. All right. I love that. And I think in noting that, then you realize the importance of how important it is for you to be yourself. You know what I mean? Because the thing is that like you literally, it is true. And I know physics tries to prove this, but you do attract who you are. So I think moving more authentically, even in your marketing and client acquisition, I think by sticking to your truth as per who you are and like the kind of clients that you're interested in, it determines the kind of events you go to. It determines the kind of spaces you're in. It determines the kind of pain points of your clients that you hear. Like, I don't hear when people are like, I can't do it, or I think I need another membership or something like that. All I can literally like synthesis, all I can literally hear are like inner child, shadow wounds, like limiting beliefs. Like, that's all I can hear. I can only hear it and see it. And because I lean into it, for example, very, very small scale, even with my family, I was with them last weekend, and something in the top of my mind was like, we need generational healing. Like, I'm not doing the whole generational curse, generational trauma with you guys. Like, and you're not gonna do it with me. Yeah, like we're not gonna do this. I am not dealing with my uncles who cannot express themselves. I'm not doing with the younger generation that can't relate to the older generation, right? So I naturally was mitigating. So I'll tell you what happened. And I'll tell you just very like a social way this shows up. So in speaking with my cousins and, right now they're, boys and things like that. Number one, my elder cousin, I'm the youngest out of a lot of my cousins. My elder cousin was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. And I was like, you're infantilizing them, right? You're not seeing that they're women who have grown up, boys like them, they like boys, they're over 20. So I'm not understanding why you're not wanting to see it. And I was explaining and expressing that the reason why you don't want to see these things is because you have an idea of them in your head and you have a wound that you haven't processed. And the more you do that, you're teaching your daughters to hide from you. So when they start hiding from you and they don't tell you things, you're creating space for more pain, right? Because when you find things out, then you're going to be like, wow, like I don't even know my daughters. I don't even know, but you're the one, you set that pace because you weren't allowing them to share with you. The second part was when I was talking to my younger cousins and they're talking to me about boys, and naturally, because of who I am and how I am, it wasn't like, I need you to be superwoman and I need you to be all these things, but I'm like, you are a direct reflection of the people in your life. So if there are certain boys and friends in your life, it's directly connected to how you are, right? You can accept people for who they are. I have people in a full range of personality types. However, and I'm not saying that you need to be stoic and you just need to be this way, but I'm saying that the quality of the people that you pick on whatever spectrum are representative of who you are. When I say that as they were talking to me, and you mind you, I was supposed to go there and relax. I went inside the pool. You guys see my tan. I was there. I was enjoying myself. I did not have a problem. I was there, but I'm so embedded in what I'm doing now that that's all I can see and hear. Yeah. So essentially, I'm going to attract people because that's all I can talk about now. You know what I mean? I feel like when Tammy walks into a store, all like her brain is going off. And she'd be like, you know what? I know this type of person would be attracted to this. And the type of people that she has around her, like if me and Tammy go out to an event and she's talking like that because we understand ourselves and because that's what she's accumulated, I'd be like, girl, you know what? That's so true. I think like, you know, this type of woman would love this and like, well, like that's what you talk about. You know what I mean? In addition to all the personal stuff or whatever, but your brain is so wired, you see architecture and your brain is in another planet. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So by the
So like,
do you get what I'm saying? Exactly, with all the natural light coming in, you know? So wow, like for you as well, when you see Black people and African people, it's not just like, how can I get people together? It's like your brain is so wired to seeing the problems in Africa that the only thing you can think about is solution. And as you work on yourself, the only thing you can see are like, by the time you start talking to people and like, you know, we work on a lot of things, I think you'll be like, I think this guy would be great for my project development part. I think this guy would be great for my program development. You know what I mean? It starts to inform your behavior. Same with the book, right? It's a book where it's kind of like, I love that my immediate circle, like if I launch something, my friends are gonna come. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones who bought most of the tickets, right? But like I need to step out into a world where and I need to step out into a world where other people from, you know, around the world can actually hear me, right? And it has to be so locked into what you're doing. And when you start to integrate into your higher self, you'll realize that all your decisions will start to lead to that. So you're going to integrate in such a way where when you walk into rooms, you're only looking for women who have gone through something, right? Who feel close enough to share with you. By that time, you start to build a relationship with people and they're like, okay, you know what? Can I have a one-on-one with you? What's your podcast? Where can I connect with you more? And then you can start giving off all the other things and gaining your followers. So essentially, I'm just going to read this example and the question, and then we'll end here. We're probably going to have to take this. I didn't think that 6 hours was going to go by that fast. Roderick, I did not think that. But okay, all right. Okay, so oh my gosh. Okay. So how could you weave this into your brand story in a way that feels powerful and not apologetic? So essentially, instead of saying I used to be a perfectionist, and I'm working on it, I could say I'm obsessive about getting the details right because your success matters too much to leave to chance. The same trait is completely different framing, right? So now it's about caring for my clients, not my personal flaw, right? You need to hear what I have to say about my philosophy in psychology and design. I'm not doing this. It's not just about, I am working on myself, but you need to hear this. So my perfectionism and my perfectionism in the craft is not a flaw. Like, like perfection is important in art, right? I see myself as an artist and I see myself in this way. Another one, I used to be very vague and disconnect myself from the matter. But now I'm fully invested that I want the people who work with me to see themselves in me before they can even see the mission. And likewise, I see my ability to reach wider audiences is due to the fact that I am exposing myself more and more. Therefore, now when I meet women and talk with women, my messaging is that I've been where you are and I want to talk to you and I want to share with you, and then you go from there.